Hello, everyone. Andre Scambo here with another episode of the Ponytails podcast. Thank you for joining me. Man, this is so fun that we get to do this. If this is your first episode, though, and you don't know what the heck Ponytails means or why it's called that or any of this is your first episode listening in. We interview people who are alumni of Southwestern Advantage. Southwestern Advantage is a company that recruits kids to go sell books door to door on straight commission for 80 hours a week for 12 weeks throughout the summer between their college years and sometimes even before their college years, which is pretty bananas. Our last guest actually sold even after their junior year of high school. Crazy, right? As you can imagine, some crazy stories come from that. This company's been doing this since 1868. So naturally, there's at least over 100,000 alumni who are out there. And our job and mission is to go find them all, create a community around them, and give them a place to share those experiences and see what they're up to now. So we've had a variety of people on here. We have people who aren't in finance, who continue to be in sales, continue to be in business, and some of them went different routes, photographers. Today, we have an actress, which is super exciting. So my guest today is Mary Meyer. She is originally from Iowa, Northampton, I believe is the town. And she currently lives in Atlanta, or New Hampton, excuse me. She currently lives in Atlanta. She went to Luther College, was part of the Power Organization, and sold 4 summers from 1990 to 1994. However, she skipped the summer in between there, so I'm sure we are going to get a story about that coming up here in a little bit. Her favorite scroll from the Ogmandino Greatest Salesman in the World book is number 3, I Will Persist Until I Succeed. And she is also an owner of an online furniture store. So when I come back, we'll be on with Mary. All righty. Hey.
Hey.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andres.
So exciting to have you here.
Yes.
Okay, so you have wine. Let me get some gin going.
I do have wine. And this is like literally, it's a Tempranillo I've never had before. And it's so good.
Occasion.
I wish I could remember the Flacco, I think. Oh my gosh. It's $12 a bottle, apparently. I'm telling you, I'm selling wine right now, right out of the gate.
Right off the bat.
Right out of the gate, people get a wine recommendation that matters.
We're not sponsored by them, but we could be.
We're not, but we should be. But I'm going to try to get you a sponsorship now.
I would love that. To drink wine on you. Somebody.
No downfall. Literally none.
I might. I think your mic is getting caught in your hair, so there's like a little sound. That might be. I'll keep you posted on that. There you go. Now, right. There we go. That sounds much better.
All right.
Wow. Well, welcome to the show. You know,
Thank you.
I can't relate. I have no hair.
I just told. One of my brothers is bald, and I was like, I have a little nephew, and I said to him, well, your sisters take your hair. I mean, look at your hair. Because he's 7 years old. He grabbed his hair.
Oh man!
In terror, so it worked.
I'm so jealous. I mean, part of me is jealous, but to be honest with you, it's not bad. And it's not that I'm bald. I've just accepted it early. Like I will be bald. I can still grow my hair if I wanted to, but you can tell that it's thinning and you can tell it's receding. So I'm already like,
yeah.
You know what?
I don't think it's a problem with men. I really don't. I think men think it's a problem. I don't have an issue with that.
To be honest with you, it's very convenient. And it's nice that I can grow a beard. But like you get up.
Yeah, there you go.
It feels like you've showered already. It looks like you've showered already. Like you don't have to clean your hair or anything like that. Just moisturize and
it took me 2 hours to dry my hair the other day, and I'm like, it just seems like it's getting worse. And
I can't do that.
I don't even know. I'm starting to understand why women say it's hair day. It's hair day.
Oh, I see. It takes me about 10 seconds to dry my hair.
Yeah. Well, there's all these advantages to being bald. I'm not going bald though. I'm going to keep my hair.
I was going to say maybe you should go bald. Maybe you should go bald and see what happens. No.
I knew that was the next thing, but no. The answer is going to be no.
No.
I'm going to deal with the issues.
Maybe with your career, you could just
no matter how much it
wear
costs
wigs. Like
nope. I do. I have a friend who's a producer, and he's like, I've been wanting to get you in a wig. Like it's one of his things since he was the first person I worked with, and I don't know, whatever.
Wow.
I think he sees me as a blonde.
You know what? I see everyone the same, just through the beauty of their soul.
There you go.
There it is. Look
Oh
at
my
that. Gosh. All right. Well, this has been a good
Like,
episode. Thank you,
right
everyone.
I know, right out of the gate, we're done.
My
Whew.
name's Andres. We had everything we needed to say. Okay. Let me
There you
dive
go.
in here and get into some stuff. I am so curious. We've had actors on here before. Lucas Salazar, he does a lot of on stage stuff. I don't know that we've had anybody yet who is in like film and in the film industry specifically. And I
Yeah,
know in Atlanta it's a big deal. I mean, that's where like all of the MCU movies basically were like pretty much mostly filmed. It's, of course, New York and other places in the world.
yeah,
But
there was a spotting of one of those lead actors, a few feet from me today.
oh no way.
I was
Are
like,
you
"Oh, I didn't go up, no."
there's Robert Downey
Yeah,
Jr. or whoever it was.
yeah, I won't say who, but, yeah,
Wow. Just
yeah,
casually walking by or like
hanging out,
wow.
hanging out.
Wait, where are you right now?
I'm in Atlanta right now.
Yeah, but where are you that you were just looking out and there was like a
Well,
MCU
it's
star?
where I live, where, my in the kind of the community
Wow.
area.
Wow, we're
Yeah.
gonna just have to visit you and just scope out and
I
s
was like, "Oh, look at that."
that's a human that
Yeah.
acts. How did you get into that? How did you know you wanted to do that? That's I feel like that's such a
It's such the magic question, right? It
yeah.
was it was like, honestly, I mean, I had done acting. I mean, in high school, I was like, did whatever plays I could do, musicals, all the music stuff I could do, I did. I also, was doing some sports. I Back then you could do probably more than you can do now. Like, you could do almost everything if you had time. And I tried. So shocking, I sold books after that, right? Um, but, I think in college I decided I started out in music and then decided I'm actually not good at music, not enough to like do performing. And I don't want to teach. So like I switched careers to psychology and Spanish and was going to be a counselor. And I had kind of given up on the thought of doing any acting. It seemed, back then it's like, well, you don't even, you'd have to go to LA, which seemed kind of,
Yeah.
it was just too much, I guess, for me, or I didn't know. I just didn't wanna do it that much. But, like, it never left, like, that thought, like, I can give up some things and, like, music is, like, just a great thing, like, I interview musicians now myself. I
Hmm.
get a chance to do that, but it's like,
Wow.
it's not a thing where I'm like, "Ah, I must perform." But acting didn't leave, so, there was a point, I think, when the birth kids, because I have adopted and biological kids. So when my birth kids, there was a point when I realized they were all creatives.
Hmm.
And, my ex-husband's not a creative, he's also a Southwestern guy, and so I'm like, I've never like, I have to, like, I actually have to. So watching my kids, and realizing they had
Mhm.
um, strong creative, everything about them, I started, taking acting classes, which really was hard because I had not raising children, especially adopted children, and your kids, and like you're running everything, and you do nothing that's like something that would be for you. So that was quite a change in my. I'm like, actually,
Wow.
I am actually now. It's actually my turn to do something for me, and I- they didn't necessarily like that, but that's okay. It's okay.
It's all
You
good.
know, not everyone has to be selfish. We can all take our turns. So I started
Wow.
taking acting classes for a couple years, and then I started getting some stuff, and then I got an agent, and I think the first thing I did was a, um, a, a um, a movie, a short film they call it. So it was about 30 minutes, and it was with one of the colleges in Nashville, and the person who hired me is to this day. I was texting with him. He's here in Atlanta, and he's doing great things. He's repped as a director, and he's making it.
Wow.
And so, like, we're still just such good buddies because I really helped him to kind of get into his skin, and he definitely. I mean, we worked so long, and it was, to have a lead in a film is the very first thing you do. Like, you just had classes. It's like, like it was it stretched me. Um,
Wow.
and he keeps working till he gets it right. So that was my first experience, and it was such a beautiful human, and I'm so grateful for that. And So funny. I mean, there's so many funny stories with that too. Like, there was a scene where I had to do a kissing scene, which is a bit I mean, are you kidding me? Like, right out of the gate? Out of the gate. I mean, you go years and no one you don't have to kiss anybody, but, like, and then he decided it wasn't good enough. This is probably one of my best stories.
Oh
So
gosh.
the kissing wasn't good enough. So we didn't have to refilm it, but we had to redo the audio. And then here's this kid giving me examples of how he wanted me to
Oh, sounds he
just
wants from
make
kissing.
just just a little higher like, I'm not gonna even do it. It's I'm like, "I cannot do this." Like, I got so like, I got
I'd be so like just
I'm like, "I am so embarrassed." Oh,
like, whoa, what do
but
you how do you
he,
do that?
wanted me to, like, high pitched sighs. Like, I'm like, "Dude." But, like,
Oh,
we
he wanted you to make the noise outside of what you would make when you're kissing, which can be a little uncomfortable if that's your first thing you're
yeah,
doing.
you're it was a married couple starting their thing. So, like, he wanted to have that vibe. I'm like,
Oh
this
man.
is like I mean, can you talk about, like, so out of someone's comfort zone? Like, I was so far out of my comfort zone. So after that, things really seemed easier. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
way
Just
worse than
so
knocking on a
much.
door. Oh my god.
And is it? It might be. It might
Well,
be.
it's
It
up there
really
for
might
your
be.
first time.
I'm like and we were doing the scene with my kids running around upstairs. I'm like, "Could it get any worse?" It's just like it's just so
So weird.
I mean, it's so and, and one of those, you do a scene like that with someone and you're not by yourself, of course. When you watch a movie, you think they're by themselves, but of course there's 10 other people in the room with lights and cameras and stuff like that. So it's interesting. But yeah, I've had some very I could
Wow.
definitely talk the whole time about my funny stories from that. But then right out of the gate, I did that, and then I did a thing where I was, Walt Disney's, aunt, Margaret, in a feature film. These are independent things, but that was also in Franklin, and that was, just some of the best monologues. I mean, she's the one who encouraged him to do the creative stuff. So it's just a sweet
Hmm.
sweet role, and that was, like, my 2nd thing, and then, like or my 3rd thing, and, like, my 2nd thing, I think, was, like, a $1,500 print job where I'm, like, uh, automotive. Met some people that I still am in contact with. I just like it's so fun. I mean,
So wild.
it's so
So,
fun. Yeah,
okay, I have so many questions because I'm
go
big.
for it.
I'm a budding what do you call it? What do you call a person who's like love
Cinephile? Yeah, yeah.
cinemaphile? Yeah.
Cinephile? Cinephile.
Who's like into movies and TV and acting, and there's
Yeah,
been a who I have a friend who are like we should take acting classes. Like I've been
yeah.
wanting to enter this role. I feel like I would enjoy it. I don't know how good I'd be at it. I don't care. I just feel like I would enjoy it. And
Then you
so
should do it, yeah.
so many questions. Okay, so question
Okay.
number 1. Did you ever think that when you started, it would get you to this point where you're doing this in as a living, right? Because when you first
Well,
start
and
out,
I'm
you're like,
not
"Eh,
like, it's not I mean, like, I am a professional actor, but, like, we still I mean, there's not that many professional actors that pay their bills with acting, honestly.
sure,
I mean, a
sure,
professional actor means you do get paid to do it.
yeah,
And people do ask you to audition to get paid to do it, but it doesn't mean that your bills are being paid, and I do know people whose bills are being paid by acting, but it's hard to get there, it really is hard
sure,
to get there, and
yeah."
people that are so talented, I can't even tell you how talented they are that haven't quite gotten there yet, or not in every
Um,
year of life, so that's kinda why there's always these other and that's the reality, that's not even failure, that's just normal, you know?
yeah. Well, I mean, and I do stand-ups, and I get paid,
Oh,
to
oh, you get paid to
like,
do stand-up.
I get paid to do stand-up, so I do I get it, but it doesn't mean you're Kevin Hart, it doesn't mean
It's
you're
really
a
pretty good that you get paid to do stand-up, like, not everyone
it's
gets
weird,
paid to do stand-up. I just went
it's
to a
weird.
stand-up show last night, it was very good.
Yeah, and there's so much like you said, there's so much talent of people you're like,
Yeah.
"How are you not famous yet?" Because 'Cause you're very funny, or
Yeah.
very talented. But, like, I guess
It's like that in the creative world, it's hard the creative world is like it's almost like it's a different I have a passion in some ways for melding business and creative or to make people understand the 2 sides of the puzzle. Like, there's a writer's strike going on right now, and the actors for
yeah,
SAG are about to strike. And it's like, that's really kind of the only voice you have. Like, our rates keep getting cut so much, and no one takes into consideration how long and how much money it takes to do auditions. you don't get paid for that. So you do a lot of work for no money. And
Mm,
that's the creative field in general, right? Like the creative field is you do your work with zero money usually, and then like you create your product. I mean, like this because you have a
mhm.
podcast, which is a creative venture, and then the money hopefully comes in over time, and then it could be a whole lot of money, and you're doing something you love in the meantime. Um, but it's harder to monetize. It just is.
Yeah. Well,
So
and there's also like so much, I mean, in the industry that the film industry or the acting industry in general is known to have so many politics involved as well, on top of the fact that
oh
it's
sure.
already hard to make it,
Hmm.
and there's also like the idea of specific roles and fitting into the descriptions of a character that might or might not look or sound or feel like you, but maybe you are the most talented who's auditioning, but it's the role is for uh a younger person or an older person or a black
Different
person or
look or yeah.
whatever, right? They don't
Yeah.
they're
Yep.
supposed to be, and so it's like besides the politics, besides the skill and the competition, you also have to fit the right box at the right time. It's so difficult, so I can't, yeah, I understand what you mean. But did you, I mean,
Yeah.
still though, you're a paid actor, like you've been and worked on set, like that's much more than most people in general,
Yeah,
and
and I
especially
do
people who are taking acting classes, so like
yeah.
there's a cool level to get to there even, which is so awesome, I
You
think.
know what? I had just had a really cool experience of, I was helping a friend move, he was moving, and he's someone I met in acting class, and we've been friends for however long, 7 years or something like that. And, so he helped me with an audition, and I was doing, like, the thing like, when you start an audition, you're already doing whatever you're doing, like, you don't just stare at the camera and then go into doing it, like, you're already doing it. So I was, like, kinda messing with my face, like, I was looking in the mirror, and he's like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm ready." "Well, you don't look like you're ready." It's just like just I don't know why that made me so happy, but it's like he decided to not do anything with it. He has a great career, and but it was really good for him just to take the classes, and that was great. And I'm like, I do look at that, and some of the people that they haven't done, they haven't gone on to get agents or stuff, and so I'm very thankful. Like every experience on set is a really cool story. It's just
Yeah,
it's a really cool story. I got to work with Michelle Pfeiffer, that was my biggest cool story.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
so cool. And when
Yeah.
you're in an environment like that and Michelle Pfeiffer walks into set, like, what are you thinking? Like, are you
You
freaking
know
out? How do you maintain professionalism? I feel like that'd be so hard, you know?
yeah. I used to think that would be hard, I don't think that anymore with any and I don't know why, but I don't. I feel like, yeah, it wouldn't it'd be fine. But it wasn't hard. I mean, and what they do lots of times when it's a name like that that you might then the basic actor like me would be in awe of is they introduce you. So the first thing I did is I was walked to set, and introduced to Michelle before she went to, got the hair, makeup, or anything, and so everything moves really fast because there's hundreds of people on set and everything's paid by the hour. So you got to move fast. But, chatted with her for 2 minutes before she went to makeup and I went to makeup you know, but it was,
Wow.
that's really cool. Yeah. And it's becoming, I mean, it's a common thing with my friends who are working actors to have those kind of experience working with the names everybody knows.
Mm.
So that's cool.
That's super cool. Now
Yeah.
now, what are some things about the film world that people might not understand, or like that people, if you know what I'm saying, that have surprised you the most? So for example, maybe it could be how long a project takes, or how many different takes of a scene you might do,
Yeah.
or maybe something broader, some more specific. Maybe what are some of the things that you've learned along the way that you're like, I didn't know that this was that way, but and when you tell people who are outside of the industry, they might go, oh, I didn't know that. Like that's
Yeah, I think in part is probably how hard it is to book a simple job. Um, because like the simple roles are just like the things that really anyone could do. You walk in and say, "Hey, would you like a cheeseburger?" That doesn't seem hard. So, but like they'll give you an audition to do that, and
hmm,
you and 50 other people. And so when they're and also it's just there's so many. So like there's the people like you who would like to try it, who haven't tried it. There's people in acting classes who maybe think they might get into it. And then there's the people who are on Actors Access who are submitting. So for a role like that, not everyone can submit. Usually would you like a cheeseburger is something you can only get through your agent. So
hmm,
it gets weird because that's kind of weird, right? But But of that, there might be 2,000 submissions, and they will send an audition to 30 people to put on tape, and so then you put yourself on tape. I might, and I have these. I'm going to show you like lights.
Oh, you got the light show
Yeah,
going. Look at
yeah.
you.
So this is how I work.
Mm,
Um,
I
and
should fix my
and then
lighting.
and so like if to get that thing is it's hard, and then it's a decent day rate, but it's not it's just acting is not full time for even A-listers,
Yeah,
usually.
that's so
It's just a
wild.
thing.
That's so wild.
Yeah. So you
Wow.
find so my thing has been trying to find the thing that I can do, and this is everyone, and this is probably something that people don't know, is a thing that actors do, and I think I lived in Nashville for 20 years too, right? So I know and got to interview a lot of musicians and get to know them. So it's usually the same thing. You try to find a job that's not a 9 to 5, where you can go there, pay your bills, and have some flexibility to do gigs,
With time, sure.
right? So because if you don't have flexibility, then you lose your job, and yeah,
Yeah,
so you got to do that, and that's hard, and that's harder. That's hard. It's hard to do. It's hard to find that.
that's so wild. But then
Yeah.
on the other hand, like there's probably um there's probably something to be said about the pursuit of that, like the growth and the journey of it all. I mean, like as you look back in your career and all the things you've done, where the first
Mhm.
acting class that you went to, that first makeout scene that had to get all
I know.
saucy,
So
to
weird.
now, like when you look back, I mean, it's what a journey. Even if
Yeah.
you never got another audition again, right? Like it
Yeah.
has to have been a blast to have just been learning
I
and
mean,
being in
just
this.
some of the things, like, I had the lead on, Snapped. Do you know
Okay.
that show, Snapped?
No, I'm not familiar.
So, I've done a lot of the murder, I call it, like, true life crime shows, and they're not
That's
that
awesome.
highly paid, but, like, their experience, and they're filmed in Knoxville, Tennessee, like, so off the beaten trail,
So fun.
and, some are filmed in Atlanta too, but, yeah, you get to do stunt work, so I just did a couple where, one I had the gun in one of them, and the other one I got murdered. Didn't even get a bruise in the murder scene.
Oh,
And then one in Snapped is when women kill. So I
you were the
this woman,
killer?
yeah, and it was awful, but there was a huge we did a huge bonfire because she burned the body. She burned the
Nice.
body. So I had to they were filming me with the match, and I had well, someone that I've worked with and doing stunt work as a teacher was there talking me through the stunt work, and it was really weird because they had a dummy that looked like the actor. So you walk by this car and you're like, who's in the back seat? It looks so realistic. So they burned the dummy. And this guy said he took shavings from his beard and he pasted it onto the dummy. So I mean, the details, they go into all this stuff the behind the scenes people do. I mean, watching the behind the scenes stuff is fascinating,
I
and it's
can't
really
imagine.
fun. That part's really
Yeah,
fun. Yeah,
that's
for
so cool.
sure.
Now, when you see TV, when you see movies, when you're out watching, do you find it so, and I'm gonna give you a preface of what I mean with my personal experience in a
Yeah.
similar set, but when I watch stand-up, for example, even if it's really good, I don't laugh. I'm more studying, like, how they're moving on the stage, what they're doing with the mic, their cadence with their punchlines. I'm, like,
Hmm.
analyzing, and then I'll actually go back and watch the same set the second time, and that's when I actually get to enjoy it. When you're watching film, when you're watching a TV show, when you're watching a movie, do you find yourself analyzing and maybe even critiquing things, or are you, because you're in this role, or are you actually
Hmm.
able to enjoy it the first time, like, the normal person, for lack of a better word?
Definitely not like the normal person. No. Yeah, there's probably a lot more critique. And there's
Yeah,
also an appreciation, like when you get a show where people are you're just in awe of the actors.
yeah.
And then you're just like, no way. Like he can sing, dance, and act, and like you're like, oh my gosh. And then some you're like, you suck. Uh have you always sucked? Like
Is it
you
just the
are
role?
legitimately so bad. And they're household names. And I'm like, legitimately.
This is terrible.
Like, yeah. So then
That's
it's a little
hilarious.
I don't know, I don't know what to do with that. And it was weird to
So
me is, like, some of those people, I still enjoy watching them. I look at them and I go, "Categorically, the worst acting I've ever seen, and I still like watching you."
that's so interesting.
I don't know,
Let
it's so
let
weird.
me let me ask you this because I'm a bit, and I've gotten into YouTube videos about why this is the reason, but I want to hear from you specifically. What when people are watching, what are telltale signs of really good acting or the opposite, terrible acting? Like when you see, what are you looking for? Is it facial
Mhm,
expressions? Is it like their ability to uh you know hold space in that moment, in that scene? Like what are you looking
mhm.
for? How do you what makes a good or bad actor, I guess is the question.
Well, the holding space thing that you just said is a good way to say it. Like, you would want it to be like, well, even like how we interact. Like, I'm listening to you because I don't know what you're gonna say. So,
Mhm,
I'm listening, you can tell that I'm hearing it, but when you're in a script, you don't have to listen because you know what's gonna be said,
mhm,
right? So you can't act like you know what's gonna be said even though you know what's gonna be said. So if you have a 15-minute scene, which rarely happens, but if you do, you know what's gonna be said throughout that scene for the most part. Maybe they allow a little bit of,
mhm.
improv in it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So to be, good actors listen as if they don't know what's being said.
That's great. Great to hear. That's so
Yeah,
good.
yeah. And pretty much I think anyone would say like that is the difference. Because if you're listening, you will like be reacting to what's being said that will be nonverbal, and acting is nonverbal.
Right.
Like if I was sitting here going, you would know what my attitude is. I
Yeah,
don't have to
you're
say
you're
anything.
not happy about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So,
Wow, that
like,
was so good.
you know, like, you so you know, like, we know that acting is not verbal. Like, we know when someone's not doing well by their posture or how fast or slow they're walking, you know what I'm saying? Just, like,
Mhm.
we can tell by how someone's physicality is or their facial expressions, and so acting needs to be that. It's not just like, "That's what I said."
Yeah.
You like where you're just straight and then yeah, that's the basic, and I think when you go into acting class, that'll be like the it's like that's it's kinda everything, honestly.
That's amazing. That's good to know, and it's funny because you see roles, like, not to get nerdy about this, but, like, I just remember there's certain scenes, there's certain lines, there's certain moments in cinema that I go back to and I go, "Wow, that's so talented." Like, that when an actor takes you out of, you don't see anybody else but them,
Mhm.
and you're
Yeah.
so im like, I'm trying to think of one that I saw oh, okay, yeah, have you seen The Bear?
I've seen several of them, several of the episodes, not all of them, yeah.
Okay.
It's very good.
There's a monologue he has at the in the last episode, John
Okay.
Allen White or Jason Allen White, or whatever his name is,
Mhm.
and it's 7 minutes, and it's like how there's no spoilers, but I'm not gonna spoil it for you because it's amazing, but it's this 7-minute monologue, and just the camera just kinda slowly zooms in on him, and then it, like, focuses, it's a close-up of him, and he's telling this story about his brother, and in my head, I'm like, "This is this man's actual brother." It's just you just don't.
Yeah.
It just it's incredible to watch that man play that role. At the same time, you'll see a film where there's like a dialogue going back and forth, and you're watching these two characters interact, and it's so, like in Ted Lasso, for example, that's been another big one
Mhm.
recently, right? Where you see
Right.
like the interaction between Ted and like the Hannah. I can't ever say her last name. The lady, the owner of the club,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you're
I've
watching
only
them
seen
two,
a
and you're
couple
like,
episodes of that too, like, I need to catch up.
oh, you gotta watch the end. It's so good.
I
But
know.
my point is, it's just like when it's so to quote Ted Lasso, it's hard to describe, but you know when you see it, both for good acting and for bad
Mm.
acting, right? And he mentioned that about, he goes, the quote is just like the case, the Supreme Court case regarding pornography. It's one of those things where it's hard to describe, but you know when you see it. It's great. So, but it's the same thing with it. It's
That's
just like there's certain scenes. So on that note, is there like a scene or a character or a role that you like just really take a lot of inspiration as an artist, that you take a lot of inspiration from, that you've seen on TV or film, like that you're like, wow, that's the North Star for me.
That's such a great question. I don't know if there is any one, but, like, one of the best, like, dramatic ones that I've enjoyed was in recent time was actually Lucifer. I don't know if you saw that one.
I have not seen that show. It's on my list.
I
It
think
was
I
between
think I
Lucifer
think
and
the
Sons of
name I
Anarchy.
think the name yeah, the name is off-putting, but it's almost the opposite of what you would think. So it's kinda like Lucifer's like, "Stop blaming all your actions on me," kinda thing.
Yeah,
And he's kind of a narcissist come to Earth.
would make
But, like,
sense.
but that when I mentioned, like, when you're watching that and you're like, "You gotta be kidding me. All these people can act, and they can dance, and they can sing, and they can play piano?" Like, and they're these huge I just, like, I cannot. I'm just, like, in awe, and I think some of these actors that can do all those things are trained in England. They're
It's
English actors,
wild how
but
much, yeah. And there's a lot
yeah.
of British actors and actresses that are just because maybe it's because we're in the United States that we kind of sleep on, and then it's just like, wow, right? Like the whole
Yeah.
cast of Ted Lasso almost. It's like
Well, I mean, you hear stories, and this happens, for so many of, like, the A-listers just kinda, like, landed in it. I mean, like, Julia Roberts' story, and I think she's a good actress, but, like, she's just walking down the street, and they said, "You." I'm like, "So that's not the normal experience." So for someone who actually had trained hard and has learned all this stuff to me, that's just I mean, it's you know, for better or worse, it's great. That's my
Mm,
opinion. It's impressive.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, question for I'm so sorry I'm nerding out about this because
Yeah,
I
it's so
think this
fun.
is I think this is so interesting. Okay. Is there an emotion that you or like a specific kind of scene or specific kind of role that you enjoy playing the most? And opposite of that, is there a role, scene, or emotion that's just the most challenging for you that you're like, oh man, I got to really work for this? And can you share a little bit about each?
Great questions.
Thank you.
What right here.
I
So much love.
listen. I'm not
So much
acting. I
love.
actually listen.
You win the day already. I know. I think I love comedy. Like, I just if I write comedy, I mean, like, if I start writing, it's gonna be a comedy, and it's so rare that there's even a comedy show. Like, it's just like, I don't know why comedies are not like, that comedies don't do well at film festivals. They don't win anything. They
Mm-mm.
don't win anything in awards show, but, like, some of these shows, like, are
Is
so good.
that changing? Do you think? I mean, I feel like I've recently Ted Lasso maybe it might bring a change. I sorry to bring this up again, and sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt your answer, but like I feel like Ted Lasso, Shrinking is another show that's been really, really interesting as a comedy where it's like a dramedy type of thing where it's like they insert enough drama.
Maybe the dramedy is, like, the
Is it
kinda
starting to
the way to
change the
go.
tide a little bit? I don't. It's
I mean, I
interesting.
really don't know. I feel like you follow I mean, as a creative, you can't follow, like, if like, let's say as a writer, because I've written one script that I would need to edit to do anything with, and it was a comedy. But anyway, I will call myself a writer too, whatever. And, not been paid for that. But if you, like, try to follow the arc of, like, where things are going, by the time you'll always be chasing it. Because it's
Mm,
always gonna because it'll take you long enough to try to get that thing made that it's already onto something else. So you can't really do that, right? You gotta write what's you find true and interesting
that makes
and
sense.
good.
And
Um,
let that catch on. Yeah,
and
I
yeah,
see.
I
Wow.
mean, yeah.
Okay, sorry. That's a great answer to that. Then now, okay, I'm learning so much. I'm like writing all this down. Back to the
Yeah, yeah.
question of like emotions or scenes or specific roles that you really like to play versus some that are more challenging for you specifically. What are some of those? Sorry, I totally
Yeah,
derailed
no,
us from that.
it's no, no. I feel like they've gotten easier over the years. Like, when I first started out and had to do the super emotional scenes of something that I had lived, that was super emotional and devastating, that
Mhm.
it hurt. Like I would actually I couldn't separate it from my body. And so it was very difficult and kind of hard on like my heart, honestly. And then as time goes on, I find it super easy to get into something where like a role like I'm crying. Um,
Mm.
so that would be the more difficult ones, like where something difficult's happened and you have to cry, you know,
Oh, crying on
in a real
demand.
way, or in a real way, and not on a, you know, and they can do things with makeup to make it look like you're crying. And lots of times you'll notice in TV shows they're not actually crying and they just whatever. They just keep going. Like the actors don't actually get there, and even really good actors, and that's just okay. Usually we are okay with that. But yeah, so I've noticed, I think in Atlanta, I've done more commercial acting, because
Mm,
in Nashville, I try to do all the independent stuff I could to get going, and I even hosted an independent cable show for a couple seasons. I'm like, as much experience as I can get in front of a camera.
sure.
When I got so much, but when I got here to Atlanta, like 5 years ago, I'm like, "I gotta make money, so, we're gonna take whatever pays."
Yeah.
And I'll still do some other stuff, fun stuff with friends, but, like, honestly, the I think the hardest thing would be something like someone who's actually, it's really hard to play someone who's actually evil. And sometimes, like, on one of these murder shows where there's not lines and you're just doing it, that can be kind of fun because it's stunt work. But, like, if you're actually that's very hard it's hard for me to, because they're yeah, those are harder.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Now for roles that you've enjoyed or that you enjoy doing or scenes that you enjoy doing, are there any specific moments or scenes or emotions that you really like portraying? Like I know you mentioned um comedy and anything in comedy roles, but as you look back at your career, what was like your favorite role that you played that you're like, man, that was fun. I would do that all over again.
Well, the ones that I think I wanna play the most are the ones that are like maybe this is like I really I've done so much of the crying ones at this point. I've actually had people go, "Take those shows out. It's all you crying."
Sure.
Okay. So, that's too much of that. I would love to do more doctor, lawyer stuff like, because everyone wants the goal as an actor, and you can ask almost any actor, their goal is to be a series regular on a television show. Because that's when you get a not just a
Paid.
that's when you get paid and you get kind of a normal schedule,
Mm,
like a normal person,
yeah.
which we're not. And that's when there's some security. So, like, that's kind of like it's not like to land, it's not really I mean, like, there's some side things where you're like, you wanna work with this director, you wanna work with this actor, like, it's kind of like a goal, or you wanna win this award or something, but if you ask almost anyone, they wanna be a series regular on a television show.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like being the
yeah,
doctor in House or one of the bikers
yeah,
on Sons of Anarchy or a soccer player on Ted Lasso. It's just a
yeah,
good you know that you got at least 10 episodes, you know that you're guaranteed work for the next year, and you know
yeah,
that you're
yeah,
not even if you're not the lead, you know that you're recurring enough that you're gonna get some sort of compensation.
right.
So that
So,
that
I
that makes
mean,
sense.
for me okay, I'll just put it out there, that's what I want, like, I would like to be, like, a series regular playing a professional like that,
Yeah,
you know, lawyer, judge, doctor,
that's so
um,
fun.
business person, and I can get definitely into that kind of. For comedy, I found that dominant female is what my comedic avenue is. So it's like that was the very first thing that film that I talked about. It was an overbearing wife who was telling her husband how he was gonna be a CEO and he had just gotten fired, so it's gonna. And so she was like egging him on and honey, do this and I'm driving and it's kind of like that,
Mm,
but like almost like you're also holding a stick and you're like swinging it around and like almost hitting people and you don't know how
hmm.
kind of awkward you are. So
Yeah,
it's not it's funny, but it's a little overbearing. That's
yeah.
that's kind of like the comedy j- thing that I fit.
That you like to fit in. Well, and that's so good. So, okay, on that, what can you not necessarily the most awkward, but like off the top of your head, the more memorable awkward situations that you found yourself as an actress. I mean, like the whole having to make sex sounds on top of a makeout scene is pretty awkward. Is
Oh
it?
my god.
What are some other
That
awkward like
probably yeah,
moments?
that
That is super
probably
awkward.
is it. Oh my gosh. I don't even know if there's been anything as bad that since then. There there was one I probably won't talk about.
Oh, that's a story for
But
Bizzler.
yeah, it's a story. That's for Bizzler. That's for the Bizzler. Um,
If you do come to Bizzler, I do want to hear that story though.
yeah. Oh man. So it was in that anyway. I booked a commercial and I wanted this footage so bad for my comedy reel, but I literally booked a commercial, drove to Ohio to film me snoring. Snoring. You heard
Hot.
me.
Yep.
Snoring.
That's what you want.
And oh,
That's
but it gets better. It gets it's not just that, but it gets better. And the only time I had one of the I think it's called couture photographers was taking photos of me snoring. Okay.
yes. There you go. That
I
director was
I
sitting there going,
had
"All right, now give us a big old honk." Just like, just give
but
us a solid.
it was like one of those that's what I got booked to do, and I'm like, yeah, my ex-father-in-law would do this all the time. I'd just be like, "What is that?" But you're like, it just the whole earth is shaking from their snore where they go I didn't do it right. I didn't
No, that
really
was
wanna
pretty
do it
good.
right.
That was really
But,
good.
you know, but
Honestly,
more. But,
sounded like
like but it was like and so the director's like, "So I'm laying in bed." It's a bedroom scene, laying in bed snoring. So I'm in bed with my eyes closed, obviously, because I'm asleep, and just listening to the director go, "Okay, now hit the top of the peak, now go down. Okay, this time I'm gonna need you to snore a little bit faster."
so
Like,
awkward.
I'm like, this is real. This is commercial
So
world. This was
awkward.
like this was not a cheaply done commercial. Like you had
Something.
really good quality crew in there and cameras.
Something was happening. I just actually had
So
this
funny.
thought. Oh man. I have another question, but I just texted this to my wife yesterday. I was talking about a joke idea because I saw a commercial last night,
Yeah.
and I was like, it's one of those situations where, from the standpoint of what you're watching being filmed, it like makes sense, but from a standpoint of like the writing process of this, it's like somebody had to. I wrote this to her. Idea for a joke. I just saw an APS commercial, and they made a lady happy after taking medication because she was able to do all these activities where there were no. Oh yeah. It was a commercial for IBS, not ABS, IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, and so
Nice.
basically the idea is that this lady has these situations where it's super inconvenient that she has IBS. She's
Well,
got to go
sure.
take a shit, right? So then she takes the medication, and then it's like all these things she's able to do with her family. So they're showing like, right, so she's paragliding and she's taking this really long, what do you call it, like when you, not a zip line, but like the cart that you take over hang in the woods, like the ski lift type thing,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
over long distances. Like
Yeah.
she's on an airplane, right? They're on a road trip. And in my head, I'm like, that's it. It makes sense from a commercial standpoint, but in my head, I'm thinking there had to have been a writer's room where they were talking about this commercial where they were like, we need to think
Who
of the
has
most
IBS?
inconvenient times to need to take a shit. Put it on the board. Stevens, what do you got? And they're like, road trip. And then it's like, all right. So and I wanted to write a joke about that process because
Oh,
you
yeah.
know that there's footage or there's ideas that they recorded that were thrown out that didn't make the final cut of the commercial of
Yeah.
this lady thinking or
I
trying not
I
to take
actually
a shit.
I wanna see a video of you doing stand up with those jokes that you write because it sounds amazing.
Oh
It
man,
really does. I mean,
I
like,
have
it's so funny.
I just see that that's how my brain works. And that's when I knew I wanted to do comedy for like a living, is because I'm like, I always think of this stuff, and then
Yeah.
I threw some of these things on stage and people reacted to them, and I go, oh okay. So when people are like, you're not that funny, I'm like, you know what, you don't get to say that to me, because I've been in front of crowds of like hundreds of people where I say something and they the reply is a wall of laughter. So regardless of what you might think of my humor, I know for a fact, like,
It's
this
been
can and
tested.
does work. Yeah, like I know that I can do this, and it's not one time; it's happened multiple times. So and that was probably what I wanted to do comedy for, is just to prove to myself that I could be funny. But now my brain is just like, and sometimes I'll say stuff that'll totally bomb. I'm not saying I'm betting 1,000. But
Yeah,
I
that's
know
very
that my
funny.
brain is in the right place when situations stuff happens in life that I can go, I can probably find the funniest thing, or not even the funniest, but I can find a funny thing to say about this situation even right now, right? So
Mhm.
I feel like that's what that's how I feel about the commercial. But that's probably what you when you see a commercial yourself, you're like, oh, I know what had to have gone for them to be able to get that shot, or for them to have thought of this, or to write it this way. And it probably makes you laugh or see it in a whole different way that the audience in general probably doesn't see. And that's awesome. I think that's
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah. I mean, I can't even tell you how much time I spend filming commercial auditions. I did one last night. I have one to do after this. I did a couple last week. I did a couple prior to that. Like, I do
That's
so
so
many
fun.
commercial auditions,
So
and
how does
there's
that work?
always so random.
Yeah, how
Like
does
the
that
most random things. I can't tell you what I have to do on this one because that probably would get me in trouble. But it's like, they're just like pretend that I got jokes. One of the last one that I did for a commercial audition was, are you a real fan of this real sports team? And can you wear the jersey? And have you ever it's like, who cares? Are you telling me like who cares? Like you're watching a commercial and with different sports teams and you're gonna know that they
that
weren't
person
actually
wasn't a fan?
a fan of that team. It's so dumb. And I right after that, like I did that audition because I'm like, I'm wearing a sports jersey right now. I am obviously know what it's like to be a fan of a sports team. This is not actually hard. Because commercial auditioning, I don't think is or acting, I don't feel like is that hard. I mean, you gotta be
No.
smiley and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But right after that, I was doing a murder show and I was thinking, what if they auditioned a murder show the way they auditioned this stupid commercial. Have you killed anybody? What was that like? Was it someone you know? Can we
Was
have
it
the
a knife
person
gun?
ca can we have the person that you murdered on the show with you? Or did you get murdered? Because if you haven't gotten murdered, we're gonna need someone who's actually gotten murdered and the people who murdered them to be on the show
You should do
to
some
make it
stand up.
more real.
That's a good bit. You
I'm
should do
like,
some stand up.
for God, it's like, for goodness, I mean, you can't really say it because listen, there's business people on here. Business people, we know what we're doing. We do not have to be like, I was going to get murdered right after that, and I lived. In fact, they made me do a scene after being murdered. Like, this is my life. They did. First, we're gonna murder you. And I was like, I got a scene after this. So, like, if you want to keep the fake blood out of my hair, like, we should keep the fake blood out of her hair. She's got a scene after this. It's gonna be hard to get it fixed. Fixed. You're right. So I get cleaned up from my murder scene. I walk down the stairs. They're like, we're ready for you. I'm like, okay, argument scene. Okay. It's improv argument scene. Who's my husband? This guy. I don't even know. Hey, like, okay, hey. And then I'm immediately into fighting
Wow.
with someone over not paying bills that
Damn
I
it.
don't know, and I don't even know his name, and I haven't even met him, and we're married. So anyway, that's acting. Like, this is our life. No one goes, can we get people who were actually divorced? I mean, like, we like both of
C-
you, and you
Yeah.
both be actors and just reenact
Can you
how
just
much you hated
replay
each
when your
other?
marriage fell apart for
Yeah,
us?
just do that. And I
Shit.
mean, can we get some people from jail who've done the murdering? I mean, like, seriously, this is the thing. It's like the reason they do this in commercials because business people don't understand the process of a creative. Like, we got it. We got it.
I can pretend to like a sports team. Yay,
We
sports.
got it.
Go get all
We
the home
got it.
runs or
That's
whatever.
right. We got it.
Oh man.
It's gonna be fun.
Okay. All right. Let's do some acting right
Oh,
now. What
okay.
set the scene. You and me,
I
we're
set the
gonna do a
scene?
quick, yeah. Let's do it. It's a quick blip. I just want this is my one and only shot at acting. Who am
Okay.
I? Where
All
am
right.
I? What are we doing?
All right. You
Oh
are an
boy.
improv teacher, and I'm a student in your class. This is one of the most basic things I could probably say.
I'm an improv comedy
Let
teacher.
me You're an improv comedy teacher.
Oh boy.
I'm a homeless person who's asking you for classes.
So oh my are we improvising this scene? Or so you
Yeah. I thought
okay,
you said
so
we're
you're
improvising
let's
it.
do it. Let's do it. So I'm not
Okay.
a good at improv. I'm good at stand up, but okay. So
I thought
you're a
that's what
homeless
you wanted
person.
to do.
No, let's do it. No, I'm in for the
Okay.
challenge. This is gonna
Okay.
be terrible. Okay, so
Oh, yeah.
you're
Me
a
too.
homeless person. You want to get on my class.
Yeah.
But you have no money.
I
Yeah.
have no money.
Is my class expensive? Am I like a
Yeah.
am I like
You're
a
oh, yeah.
it's like Second City improv? Like I'm
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about
Yeah, yeah.
like
You're
I'm
kinda
on
famous.
SNL on a regular basis.
That's it.
Concurrent.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Is this a comedy or a drama?
It's comedy.
Okay. Are we on the street? What's this? Are you or did you come into my shop? Did you come into my class
We're on
like
the street.
randomly?
We're on the
Oh,
street.
so I'm just like waiting for a
Do
cab
you
in
do
like
you know
New
how do
York.
you know how improv goes? Here's improv. Here's the rule of improv. Yes, and. Whatever I say, don't say no. Say,
Okay.
"Yes."
All right. All right. You start.
Okay.
This is the first time we've done this on the show. This is so fun. All right.
"Hey, hey,
Oh,
hey,
oh,
hey,
oh,
hey,
whoa, 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 whoa.
hey. No, no, no. Are you,
Yes.
you Andres? On
Yeah. Who are you? No,
Wow.
no.
No. Like, hey, 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 hey. Listen, listen,
I don't
listen.
have any money, man. I don't have any money. I
Oh,
have
no,
no
no, no.
money.
I wanna do stand up. I wanna take your class. You have a
No, you
class. I
can't
want
stand up. You're in a wheelchair. You can't even stand up to do stand up.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Yeah,
That's
no.
I
Hey,
can't even
taxi! Taxi!
Taxi.
Boom, we nailed it.
Alright, there you go.
I'm in New
That was
York.
it.
I'm on my way to SNL right now, and some homeless person just had the
No one's gonna hire us
audacity
after
to
that
even
scene. We
Hey,
are
but we
not
had fun.
hired, but
We
we
had
had
fun.
fun. Playing a homeless person is not my avenue
It's
either.
so hard.
I don't know
Listen,
why I picked that. I've
I
never
live in
been booked to
Portland,
do that.
Oregon. I live in
Yeah.
Portland, Oregon. You should have given me the homeless person because there is many,
Oh.
many here. There are tents all over the town.
Yeah, that's sad.
You know,
That's sad.
it is so incredible, but that's a story for Bizzler. My thoughts on that could be a story for
Yeah,
Bizzler.
yeah.
That was fun. Thank you for letting me do that. That was so yay.
It is
Um,
fun.
okay. I did have a question for you about your acting career. I also wanted to ask you about your online uh
Sure.
furniture store, but
Yep.
before we get to that, so I one last question about acting. I'm sure I have a ton more, but you know,
Yeah.
I guess we could make this a 25-hour podcast if I asked you all the questions about acting that I wanted to.
Yeah.
Um, w-
And
what
you
are
can ask me
some?
offline.
Yeah, okay. um, w- w- I wanted to kind of tie this a little bit back to Southwestern. Is what
Yeah.
are some of the similarities that maybe surprise you or didn't surprise you of a career in acting and a career in like sales and business? And what are some of like the vast differences where you're like, even though I did this crazy thing going door to door for 4 summers trying to sell books and it's
Yeah.
super uncomfortable and I learned all these things, I did not it didn't prep me for this part of it. So what were some things that you had to learn or that you've picked up that you didn't in Southwestern? And what are some things that, wow, I'm glad I learned that because it's helped me in my acting career like
Mhm.
so?
Mhm. Well, I think I feel like I've lived several lifetimes. It's so weird. Very segmented parts of life because this was like after children even, and like it's just such a not after children, but they were older. So Southwestern teaches you to keep going when it's impossibly hard, right?
Yeah.
Like you just keep going, doing something that everyone thinks is ridiculously crazy. Um, and
Yeah.
for here, it's because we kept going, and and it's not like they're wrong. It is ridiculously crazy.
It is an
Like
odd thing.
no, I mean, like I've done so many things in life that just are just like that's ridiculous. And I think acting is probably it's so fun, but like to try to make it a career is kind of a like why it's very challenging. But like you just like and the other thing with Southwestern too is you meet thousands of people. So like you kind of get knowing a lot having seen a lot of humanity, of course, is very good for the arts. Not just
Yeah.
knowing just this segment of society, but knowing having seen, a lot of different ways people live and how they act and
Yeah.
you know?
You can act like a
So
rich mom because you've seen it. You can act like a poor mom because you've seen it. You can act like a mom that is divorced because you've seen it. And experienced it from what I
Yeah.
understand. You can
Yeah.
act like a mom who is completely in love. You can act like a mom with young kids. You can act like a mom with no kids. You can act like a mom whose kids are grown and gone. These are all moms you
Yeah.
would meet on a 2-hour period, just going door to door.
Sure. Sure.
So I see
Yeah,
what
and
you're
it's
saying.
it's easy for me to yeah, it's easier for me to pop into a mom role, that's for sure.
I bet
Not a
you're
hard
like,
thing to do,
yeah, I'm the
no
mom of the
matter what
house.
it is, all the different ranges, yeah,
Wow. That's so
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Wow.
I
And
think I
so
have every conceivable emotion as a mother on my reel.
well,
Mom, 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 yeah, for
and so
sure.
like, the persistence of it does sound like that's something that you took from Southwestern and you were able to apply like scroll number 3, right? I will persist until I succeed. Was
Yeah,
there something where you're like, even though you sold books, you were not prepped for this in your career? Like for example, for me, it's referrals. Like in
yeah,
Southwestern, they think they teach you referrals, but they don't really teach you like solid referrals for your because if that was the case, you would only be going to houses of moms who knew the mom before, right? And that wasn't the case.
right,
And so like for me, as I've had to like for example, for this show to try to book guests of like, oh, this is a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. Like we've gotten to a point where we'll book someone on here who was a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend who we had on the show. Right.
mhm,
So, and I've learned to get good at referrals that way, but that wasn't something I learned in Southwestern particularly. So, is there
right.
anything in your acting career where you're like, whoa, this I go back to that weird awkward makeout scene that you had to make sex noises for or whatever, but like that's an uncomfortableness that
You
you
didn't
didn't
do
really
that on the book field? I'm just kidding.
I didn't have to
I
sit
don't
next to a
want to
mom.
know about it. No, if you just
That's a story for Bizzler, but she bought. Anyway, so, um,
Just I have no makeout stories from the book field, not
nah,
even one.
I don't
Wow, so
either.
boring.
I did have mom flirts with me, but and I'm sure you had dads flirt with you because there's lonely
Well, and
dads, there's
that's
lonely moms out there.
yeah, I guess, but, like, that's scarier for a woman because 'cause you're so
Oh,
nervous about
for
do
sure.
not go in the door until you
We
see
just
the whites of her eyes, you know? So,
we just
yeah,
recorded with Nicole Wingard, who she's competing to be Miss Texas. And she like was telling us a story about a time where she went in with the dad and the dad got flirty and she was like, damn it, this is why they tell you to not do this. And so
yeah,
luckily nothing happened, but and she had to be strong and firm with the dad and the dad was respectful, luckily, but that could have gone in so many different ways. So I understand what you're saying about
yeah,
like
yeah,
if it's a dad that's it's different for a woman. Absolutely. I'm not trying to make light of that. But
yeah.
my point is like it's still like it was there something in acting where you're like, even though I sold books, it didn't prepare me for this. This is something that I've had to like hone or a skill I've had to
Sure.
like really take.
Well, I mean, in general, I mean, just apply it to all of life. I mean, Southwestern is a plug and play. It's like this is what you do. This is your schedule. You get up, you go to bed at this time. You get up at this time. You do this. This is the thing you do. This is what you say. This is how you say it. So, in a lot of ways, it doesn't. Life isn't like that. Life is not a plug and play. Life is everyone's figuring it out, and the people who think they have it the most figured out are kind of boring, honestly.
Amen.
So, and some people have a lot of money, but it's like, yeah, but you're boring. Or they, they have something
Amen.
else going well, but they don't have something else going well. There's so many different areas of life, and life has to be a balance. Like, Southwestern is not a balance by intention, and you know that going into it. So but the rest of life needs to have a balance. You need to have time to sleep. You need to have time to to do whatever you have to do for you. Time for your people. Time to work. Time to eat. Like there's a balance and a rhythm to life in general the United States probably doesn't do fabulously well with in general. But
Amen.
there's all of that. So we just take away what we did. I don't think Southwestern teaches you anywhere close to everything you need to know in life. I did leave college with no debt and a car because of it,
It's a big
and
deal.
that was a private college, so it's like it wasn't nothing. Different
That's
skill
further
sets,
ahead
but
than most kids that graduate today. I mean,
oh yeah,
that you're in the top
yeah,
20% or something like that of like if you can graduate debt free today's that's I'm not
yeah,
I'm not debt free from I'm still paying school loans, right? So
yeah.
so thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
We need more of these. Come on, guys. I'm
I
still.
got you. I got you.
Oh man, this is so fun. Oh man.
What kind of
Um,
wine is this again? I'm gonna get this
yeah, get
Flacco
this,
wine.
drink the whole bottle of this. This is a fun
Where's
time.
the thing? There you go.
Um, Let's do you mind if we jump into some talk a little bit about your online store and then maybe some
Yeah,
Southwestern stuff?
whatever you want.
Before we get into that, I want to make sure we give a shout out to some of our partners here. So we are a monetized podcast, we are sponsored. And here's the deal: if you're listening and you sold books, I would really appreciate it if you guys listen to these, because we've been offered to be sponsored by companies who are not represented in any way, shape, or form by any alumni. So we exclusively picked out people who sponsor us, who are people who are out there doing really cool stuff in the community, working in really awesome industries, providing really good career opportunities for people who are all alumni. So, particularly speaking, Cardinal Senior Benefits, Quentin Roberts, and Nick Dale and Pedro Vega have been a really big part of that. And of course, Southwestern Real Estate has been a big part of that. So, I just want to make sure I take this really quick time. If you guys want to really support our show in a non financial way, sure, like and subscribe, but more than anything, please listen to this, because you never know if you know any other book people or people who might be looking for these career opportunities. So make sure you check these out. It would mean a lot to me if you listen through all the way through. It's only a minute of your life, and I think these guys are really awesome people. So I'll do a quick word from them, and Mary, we'll get back right back to your online business. It's so exciting. So
Yeah.
here's Pedro Vega with Cardinal Senior Benefits.
Hey guys, Pedro Vega with Cardinal Senior Benefits. So one of the most important things in sales is being convicted in what you're selling and how you can help people. So being a broker, we talked about that in another ad, you have a lot of tools on your belt. Another thing is something called cash value. When I sit down with someone and they have coverage, I can usually get them a better deal because I'm a broker, but sometimes they have money in their previous policy that if I can get them approved, I can literally get them an extra $1,000, $1,500, $1,800 back in the mail on top of us helping their family with a better value. So it's kind of a win-win-win, and it makes your life a lot easier. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you very much.
That's awesome. And if you guys want more information on these people, just scroll down in the description notes and you can get a little bit more information about the position that they're looking for to fill, and contact with them so you can get an interview. Here's Pat Roach with Southwestern Real Estate, and then we'll get back to the show.
So one of the things that I had to do when first starting the business was figure out how to get a client. That's important. Well, it turns out in real estate, the number one way that people will choose an agent is from a friend's recommendation. So as I started to spread the word about what I was doing as a realtor, guess what happens? All of a sudden my phone rings and it's a friend of a friend who said, "Hey, we heard great things about you. Could you help us buy a house?" That's how we find clients. And who doesn't like finding clients when your phone rings and they're calling you?
Boom. That's awesome. If you guys, again, one more time, if you want more information to talk to Pat or Pedro, you can either message us on Instagram, or you can just scroll down, click on the links below, and it gets you a direct contact with both of those gentlemen. They are doing some really cool stuff, and they're all over the United States. So even if you live in a state that they might not quite be in yet, or maybe you are in the same state, that's good news for you. Back to the show. Mary, thank you for sitting through that.
Yeah.
No, it's just supporting
Not
alumni.
hard.
We're
Yeah.
just trying to do our best here.
Go get them.
That's awesome. Okay. Listen, I think we might have to have you back for another episode, because I have so many questions about acting, but I don't want to take up
Let's bring
17
it.
hours doing this. So we're just going to pivot, because or maybe I can just pick your brain about this, after the episode's over, just one-on-one,
for
but
sure.
it might be fun on the air. But let's pivot really quick to
Okay.
your online furniture business. And I wanted to learn a little bit more about what it is, how it works, how you got started into it. So let's just start from the top. When did you, and how did you get into this industry?
Oh, as weird of a story as acting is, probably weirder. Can it be weirder?
Did you have to do
Can
a
it?
weird makeout
Can
session
it?
on a
Can?
couch, and then you're like, oh, I could sell this couch online?
Uh, wow, that would have been a better story, maybe. But now you ruined it. Now we're gonna have to
Well,
go to a
just-
different topic. No, just kidding.
All right. So your first summer, how'd you?
No, just kidding. Honestly, it started in I'm going to try to keep my hair away from my thing. The microphone.
Me too.
Thank you.
We look so fabulous.
You do. Do this with your hair for me. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, this thing started with a friend in the acting world who looked at me and said, "You look like a writer. We should write a script."
Nice. Solid place to
That's how
start.
a furniture store started. Anyway, so this was literally his name was Andre. So we wrote a script that
Handsome
he's
fella.
like, yeah, so he's like, but he's a young guy, and he knew all about Shopify and drop shipping and doing that online, and he knew the course to go to, and all the online sales is talk about something different from Southwestern. It's
Yeah.
actually so different. It's painful. It actually hurts me. It hurts my soul, hurts my brain. It's actually incredibly difficult. But
I
the
can't
long
imagine.
story short is we did finish the script. This is like over COVID, and the store opened. Kind of just the setup wasn't great. We didn't have that many vendors, but whatever. And, we started right about Thanksgiving of 2020, and then by January he was sick of it, so he left. I was like,
Nice.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing.
Good stuff.
But
Take it from here, girl. You got this.
I'm just like, that's what I was doing. Literally, it's like I don't know if there's anything that's more out of my just automatic skill set except for the I will persist until I win.
Just, I got this.
I'm like, it literally is like, there's no, you don't, I mean, and honestly, okay, this is like, talk about Southwestern. You go there, you talk to people, it's face to face. Nothing I do is face to face. I tape an audition, I send it away. I have no idea. No, there's no feedback. Same thing. You put the store out there, people come, there's no feedback. Like, you have no idea. You have no idea,
You
right?
can't even see the people's faces.
No, you don't
of
see a
like,
face. You don't. No, you have no. You don't even know who they are. Where, I mean, we can on the store kind of see where it's from, or we can guess, by the casting. But like, you really like, it's like, Brave New World or something. I don't know, or Awful World, but yeah. So that's, and the reason I do have my real estate license too, and the reason I chose to, and again, this all goes back to finding a thing that can be flexible enough so I can act and do creative stuff, but pay bills. So like, this is the bottom line that every creative, I think, and not just an actor, I think every creative has that. Can I bring in money? Because it is harder to do that sometimes, and people undervalue creatives, and it makes me
so
mad in
much.
the business
Yeah.
world where you undervalue a creative, and yeah, it's shameful, honestly. In the business world, I think, they like, well, this is business, and people are a line item,
Mhm.
expense, and we cannot look at people as a line item expense. Please, nobody do that. Like, there's so much more valuable than a line item expense. So anyway, that's my thought on that.
Amen.
But yeah, so yeah, I sell basically home bars and more. Go visit it.
Here,
But
I
whole
got you.
finding a niche, and there it is.
Boom.
The whole thing with it was find a niche where you can kind of like, we can't really compete with Wayfair or really, really big stores, but find things that aren't necessary somewhere else. And so
Whoa.
yeah, so some of my favorite stuff, like the Ford bar, I have a couple of vendors that hand make stuff, and the people that like do the Ford bar and stuff are some of those. But also, like, this January I got some really good vendors. It was really hard to get vendors in 2021 because supply chain issues, and no
Sure.
one's taking on anybody. But I finally started going to the marts, and when I can get face to face with a CEO, they're like, yeah, sure. So that's the Southwest coming out. Like, hey, I don't qualify probably for what you're looking for, but what do you think? They're like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, thank you. Yes, that's right. So face to face, that's
So
after South
cool.
stuff. But yeah, so the latest thing, like, I was doing today is I keep getting, from people who do online marketing, they're like, put your face on everything. I'm like, that's so obnoxious that you start seeing my face on everything, and my daughter's face on everything. She's done some of the um she'll do some bartending videos and stuff like that. And not everything. It's like, it's like outdoor stuff, some bars, some liquor storage, some game room stuff, and some dining stuff, just some bar stools, like
Sure.
a variety of anything that can kind of fit in that niche. And I'm trying to like create a fun place in your home. What does that look
Yeah.
like for you? But bring more joy back in life
That's
by
awesome.
create the spaces where you can bring people in, like real people, and not just not just TV shows. But if I'm ever on a TV show, please watch it. But no,
I
just kidding.
will. I will. You send me every scene
Yeah.
you've been on. I will watch.
All right.
Unless it's like awkward, like Like that first thing you ever had to do.
Yeah, there's nothing like that out in the wild though.
That's fair.
That
Now,
one that one isn't anywhere anyone can watch it, so that's probably that's probably good.
that's good news. That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you now on the store stuff? Do you, okay? Couple of questions. This is
Yeah,
really
ask 'em.
interesting. What have you noticed as far as like, because you said it's not face to face? Online marketing is such a tough gig to try to really get ahead of it, get in front of, get masterful at. What have you learned in this journey of online sales that if you could give advice to yourself, maybe when you first got started, or to someone who's just starting out, what are some do's and don'ts that you've learned about online, marketing and sales?
Mhm. I think it's like you do have to hire help, but it's hard to find the right help to hire, and that's really hard. I don't know, like I was dealing with so many things like just personally, I was having just issues with health and brain fog and certain different things
Oh,
where trying to learn, forget it. Like so I can't I mean, I would go back and I just say, "Good job, girl, for continuing to keep going." Like I literally, I was like last year, I was like, maybe this is just the wrong avenue. Maybe I should just take what I've learned and try to do like a course where it's just a download, you know. And I might still
sure.
do that too, because then you don't have to ship furniture. But as I was telling my business partner that we got the phone, literally, I'm like, I think we should maybe not just changed direction. The phone dinged with a $2,800 sale. I'm like, okay, I give up. I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it.
Thanks for the sign.
I
Learn,
appreciate
learned.
it. um, yeah, and so it's, but it's still there's certain things that are very difficult. But fun story. I met an Andres. I think I told you I just met an Andres on set, young actor, and he thought my story was so interesting. I'm like, "That's so weird to me," and I appreciate it, and, he said, "You need to do TikTok," and I've had other people tell me that too.
Yes.
So I started a TikTok for my business, and I think maybe I had started a TikTok, and he's like, "No, no, 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 you gotta do one for you. You have to have
Mm,
a TikTok and then send people to your store." I'm like,
yep.
so now I'm all over the place, like, so
Good.
now I'm TikToking.
You're TikToking. I want. Well,
Ooh,
I don't
what?
have a TikTok,
I
but if I
don't
had a
even
TikTok, I'd
know.
follow you.
Oh my gosh, it's so listen, this is I've got on Chat GPT. I am not a technology person, but I am on 25 different websites a day trying to get this all done. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, I know
none
what
of
you
this
mean.
is easy. Yeah.
Content production is hard, man. It's
Yeah.
like I'm out here trying to cut episodes, and here's the deal: our episodes are like 2 3 hours long, sometimes 4 hours long is the record. There's
Wow.
so many gold nuggets to try to pull out from those, and we have them, and just trying to post content, on a regular, decent basis, but not too
Yeah, for
often, but
sure.
often enough. And it's so hard. People think it's just about cutting, even cutting a video. If you're not like somebody who is professional at this, it takes some time. Trying to find
Mhm.
keywords, trying to post it in the right place, the right time, to the right people, and have
Yeah.
people. It
And it's
it
like,
gets to the
what
point
is it?
where,
What's a meta field again? Like this is
yeah,
me like,
what
what is
does it
that?
even matter? Yeah, I get
What
it.
is that? And how does I
W-
Google paid
I-
me once to go on there to do it. They paid me $100 to give feedback. And I tried my best, people. I tried my best and I failed.
it's
And
hard,
I'm
man.
like, could you actually make life more confusing? Like, I get this thing, it's still pulled up. It's like you gotta switch to G4. I'm like, God,
Yeah, it's
like
tough.
just I mean the Google,
And,
the
and the
Google.
information's out there to learn and how to do it, but then it's like, okay, that takes time. So that's time you could have spent, working on a script, or that's time you could have spent working on an
Yeah.
audition. Like it's like hard to balance these things, and
Yeah, it's so hard.
and people think
Yeah.
it's like, oh, all you do is podcast, you just record it and upload. No, man, it's so hard to run this thing. It's people don't understand. I don't
Well,
think,
I think
and I'm sure people
yeah,
do
with
understand. Some people
editing,
do understand, but it's like
yeah,
there's work involved in
so
this,
much work. Well,
and
finding the people, scheduling the people,
yeah,
doing the
yeah,
show,
yeah.
finding
So
the sponsors, doing
yeah.
the
So
editing, posting
let's
the
just go with
content.
this aspect of
Yeah.
just this interview, right? So I'm sitting here and I love this, my favorite part of this whole thing is this right now. What we're doing right now, if it was up to me, this is all I would do. Right. I love getting to meet a new human being connecting with them on something that we shared that was a traumatic good or traumatic bad experience, right?
Yeah.
And discussing about that and learning about their industry and all. I love this. After this, right, there's post edits that we have to do. Then we have to fill out the notes for it, which our producer does. So she'll like go and do timestamps on some major stuff that we said or funny things that we said, right? From
Right.
there, I'll go and like have to, and this is like not just me, this is any podcast, right? We have to go and edit, cut, change, tweak the sound, make sure this sounds good. From there, we have to brand it. After that, we have to go find keywords that make sense that work for the post itself, so that way it
Yeah.
has a chance of going viral, if that's even the case, and which it usually isn't, because you can't strike gold every day. So then after that, you post it, you gotta hope someone likes it, you gotta hope someone shares it, you gotta hope the guests themselves. I gotta go back to you and go, hey Mary, can you share this to your socials, can you share this to your people, like can you make all right, cool, great. And that's just to get we're not even talking about like uploading it, making sure it's got a good header, we gotta do the Instagram post, we gotta do the cover for it. That's just this part of this thing. That's not including the sponsors, trying to find new guests, trying to organize Bizler, trying to organize a community that's like tuning in and starting to find you. There's so much work that goes into it, and
So much work.
it's not, and that's just me. So
Yeah.
on your end, it's like the online marketing of it. So you got to take really good photography of all of your pieces, because a lot of it is got to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that the lighting is good,
Oh,
that the photographer caught the
oh yeah.
accents of this table and the little textures that have or the couch, and that it's velvet and that it's
Mm-hmm.
not cotton, or versus linen versus corduroy or whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
selling, right? Like,
So many
you got
things.
to post it, then you got to like ship it, then you got to make sure that everybody, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and you can do
And
everything right, and they can your
totally not buy
shipper
it.
and your shipper and your vendor can make a mistake. I mean, that's happened too. I'm like, "Good lord."
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
stuff.
tough. It's tough. And here's the
Tough
deal.
fights.
I believe in what we're doing, and I believe in this, which is the only reason that we're still going, right? Because I think that we're doing a good thing for people, and I think that what we are giving back to the world, not even outside the alumni community, is powerful. There's episodes that I've had on here that I've seen and I listen to Joe Rogan or Lex Friedman or some of these other major podcasts, and I'm going, my guest has more to share, more to give to the world than this person that you had on, Mr. Rogan or Mr. Friedman or Mr. whatever, right?
Yeah, I believe that.
And it's just the difference between it is that you have this audience, which, to their credit, to Joe Rogan's credit, and to Lex Friedman or whoever, all these major podcasters, to get to where they were, it wasn't overnight. It was,
Mm-mm.
there was a lot to give to get to that point. But
Yeah.
there's been times where people have shared amazing tips on acting, or in this case, or sales, or like whatever. And I go, wow, like this is gold. This is really, and it's not my idea. It's our guest, and the brain is out there sharing this, and in my head, I'm going, man, you deserve this to go viral, because this is so good. Like it's so great, So, and there's people that argue, well, if it was that great, it would automatically go viral. It's like, no, it
No, it
wouldn't.
wouldn't.
No, it
No, it
wouldn't.
wouldn't. Like,
Yeah,
I got a message from TikTok that says, "Try to get to 1,000 followers so you can increase your risk of actually going viral, because it doesn't go viral if you don't
yeah,
have followers." So
correct.
and trying to get to followers unless you just buy them,
It's
I
so
guess, and
hard.
sometimes it's like to get real followers is posting tons of content. I'm
Yeah.
like, "This is
And
so
that takes time.
hard."
And it takes time.
Oh
So, I mean,
god.
in my head, the way I see it is, at some point we're going to get to 1,000 episodes. This is 200 and something. At some point we're going to get to 1,000.
Yeah.
And at that point, if we just keep at what we're doing and we just continuously try to grow and be better every time, it's going to get to a point where the scale just tips, and this becomes a mainstream thing. I believe in that. I believe that the stories that our alumni have to share, I believe that the lessons that they've learned, and I believe that the things that they have to say are worth listening to at a mass worldwide scale. And I won't ever not believe that, because I've sat here enough for enough time to know, wow, there are people out there who have been where you're sitting, across the screen from me, who have had some incredible things to share. All of them. Not
Yeah.
people are like, "What's your favorite episode?" Or was there an episode that wasn't fun? No, honestly, everybody's experience about doing this thing, this really, really hard thing, has been worth sharing, and I think that the world deserves to know.
Yeah.
And you know that's where I'm at. Maybe I'm getting super philosophical here, but here we are.
I think, the reality is, and I think this too, like when I do the TikToks, I'm like, okay, good. This is going to be my opportunity to just share what is find real and what I feel like the problems are that are going on. And I don't do anything political because I don't actually um, think that's as helpful maybe because anyway, but I do things
Fair.
that are just, one of the things I talk about, like I just, in some of these TikToks is like emotion is a wave. And I think, and that's one thing that I do think it can go wrong with salespeople is we're taught you always got to be positive, but if you suppress one emotion, you suppress all of them.
Amen.
So yeah, so that's where you find some salespeople are like, boy, you're really an asshole. And I don't even mean like even a little one, but I mean like you really like, wow.
Big
And it's
Harry. Yeah.
because and it really, it's not like, of course you have to be positive if you're out with someone. Like we can't be on this show doing this and like, something's going wrong, we'll go cry after. So if you're on, you're on. But it's like that doesn't mean you have to suppress it all the time. And to me, an emotion is information about what needs to happen. So if you're angry, you got to set a boundary. If there's rage, you got to set a boundary now. Or something in the past that didn't get a boundary set so that when you think about it, you feel anger. So like that's information. Of course we should feel angry if something is like coming at us that shouldn't be, right? If we're sad, it's like we lost something that is of value, that's real value to us. And we should acknowledge and be grateful for the fact that we had that and it was beautiful. And now we don't have it. And that means we're human and we can be sad, you know? So, and that doesn't mean,
Preach.
but if you suppress any of that,
Preach.
you suppress all of it. So, and I think it just turns, I've seen so many, of course, I've been around a lot of salespeople. I'm like, man, you guys are like not great. Like, I don't like you.
Yeah.
And I sometimes wonder if it's the constant preaching of just be positive, be positive.
Yep.
It's like, well,
Toxic
when
positivity.
it's time to be positive, do your effing job and be positive. It's just like we all got to do that. We get it. Might not want to, but then just give yourself some space to be a human.
To be negative, because negative is not bad. It's just not good, and that's okay because life isn't good all the time.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think, and I do think
So good.
also like
Amen.
you have to, it has to, when it comes out of your mouth is when you usually process what's happened, which is what, like, why are we being so negative? Well, yeah, it definitely can get overboard for sure. Like there's some people that just like, we've talked about that enough probably, but let's do the next thing. But yeah, like you can't, if it's in your brain, it's not processed. It's
Yeah.
come
That's
on
so
out
funny
of that
because
mouth.
we just talked about this with Nicole, like the person we just recorded with. It's exact. I'll say it again because maybe someone doesn't listen to that episode, but amen to that. Like when you say it out loud, which is why self-talk is so important. When you say it out loud, it is now real. In your brain, nothing's real, which is the key. Why processing is so hard. We're talking to someone, whether it's a therapist or
Yeah.
yourself or a friend. In your head, nothing's real because it can be tricked, it can be bewildered, it can be distracted, it can be on a substance, which changes perception of reality.
Hmm.
But when you say it out loud, it's real, not true. It doesn't mean it's true. Reality isn't truth, but it's real from a standpoint of like this thought that I had is now outside of me, and now I can process that outside of myself, which is a lot more conducive to trying to figure shit out when you're trying to
Hmm.
navigate a difficult situation. So,
Yeah.
amen to what you said. Amen to what
Yeah.
you said. I love
And
that.
then if you have someone and hopefully you find someone that is like has a little bit of insight and wisdom enough to hold, like I love it you said hold space to just go, but do you
Okay.
have to?
Yeah. Yeah. Or is it
or
really like that? Yeah.
or that seems really hard. Like must have been hard. Just whatever, just some wisdom that's not just dismissive,
Amen.
It's such a beautiful thing.
Amen. Holy cow. Okay, let me move this along because actually, I promise you a specific time. So let's jam on. Okay, man, this
All
is
right.
so fun. Okay,
It is.
let's jump into a little bit of like some Southwestern stuff, and talk a little bit about. I always like to ask how you first got into because we're kind of already going towards that direction anyway, so it's a natural segue. How did you get recruited into Southwestern? Like, how did you get into this whole thing? We'll talk about that. Some of your first. We'll do some rapid fire questions, some ponytails, and we'll call
Okay.
this good. Does that sound good?
Sounds great. Sounds
I promise
lovely.
you 90 minutes. And we're like way over. We're gonna end up being way over. So I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. I
But
like
we
to
can.
talk.
I
I mean,
love talking.
I'm also an interviewer, so it's like I sit here and ask you a million questions if you let me.
Go for it. I'm an open book. I expect. I feel like I need to be because our guests are so vulnerable with their stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's my responsibility to also just let it out myself. So, but anyway, okay. But if you have questions, you can always ask. Now,
Okay.
let me ask you though, how did you first get recruited? 1990. Let's go roll Luther College. Let's roll the clocks back. How
Okay.
the heck did you first hear about Southwestern?
So one of my best friends, or probably my best friend from high school, sold after her junior year of high school. Like I think you mentioned that at the beginning of the show. So I'm
No
like, yeah, she
way.
did that with her sisters. And so I'm like, weird. She came back, I'm like, weird. And then
It's true.
I think like I mean like come on, I grew up in rural Iowa. I was like, no point. I don't want to go home. So this thing came along and yeah, I said, okay, sign me up. So
Who
there I
who
was.
was this? Who signed you up? What was the name?
JT Olson. That's been
JT
on the
Olson.
yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
we love JT. We love JT.
Yeah.
Oh man, so JT Olson approached you and said, "Hey, what are you doing next summer?"
Yeah. Yeah, he ran the meeting. I mean, he was a sales manager, so yeah. So she got me in, and then that summer, my friend Dawn is her name, and she couldn't finish the summer for reasons even then I understood, and today I understand. And it didn't bother me that she left. So, but I kept on.
Wow, that's tough.
Yeah,
That's tough to have your manager. So okay, so when you get to your first, I always like
it
asking
was,
about
but also
firsts.
like she's my manager, but also like she's a good enough friend that I understood all the issues that were in play. That,
Sure.
and I'm like, yeah, she needed to go. So yeah.
Yeah.
These are interesting because I didn't even remember this stuff until I listened to Cassandra Gardner's one, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, like, let me try back. How did I get it?"
Yeah.
It feels like
It's
so long ago.
it's so funny because we'll have people before, and just to give insight to people who are listening, we'll have people before we start recording, whether it's right before or like weeks before we start recording, they'll go, I can't remember anything. I go, trust me, when we start talking,
You'll remember some stuff.
shit just rolls right back to you. So
Yeah.
it's now. Where did you sell like your first summer, or I guess all 4 summers as you went along? Where
Yeah.
did you go?
So, I was in Kingsport, Tennessee, my first summer.
Tennessee. Let's
Yeah, and
go.
then I was basically back in Kingsport my 3rd summer, and I have just such beautiful memories of there, and it's not that far, the Smoky Mountains are still, like, my favorite, like, place, so it's like, working in the Smoky Mountains, I'm like they still are like, "Oh, Smoky Mountains." Um,
Special
and then
place.
I was in Pittsburgh my 2nd summer and Detroit my 4th, I think that's right.
Let's go. Now,
So, yeah.
do you remember your first store or your first customer? I always like asking about first because it's like it's
Yeah,
that moment in your life. I don't think anybody will forget that. I mean, some people might, but it's such a
yeah.
memory, that
Well,
whole space.
I was in a neighborhood that I feel like looking back on it might have been a little too close to inner city, but it
Sure.
was easy knocking. Um,
They don't call the cops, honestly.
well, it's in the South. It's the South too. So, like,
Oh,
knocking in the South is different than knocking in the North for sure. There's a very different cultural difference, especially
can't
like kind of
imagine.
rural South. They're like, "Come on in."
Their guns are just chilling everywhere, and you're like, "Come
No,
on
I
in, we got."
really, interestingly, I varied. Like, I feel like I had a manager who got a gun pulled on her, but I like had no experiences with guns, thank God. Um, I know,
Lucky.
right? I know. So that's good. I really can't. I'm like, I really don't feel like I had any traumatic experiences from it, except for being yelled at, maybe. But that's non-traumatic.
I mean, it's just some mom going, "Get off my porch," or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
no big deal.
yeah.
That's hilarious. And as you think back on your memories, like, are there any? And the reason we do rapid fire is to help you remember some of your favorite memories. But in general, like, do you have a specific sweet victory from your first summer where you decided I'm going to do this for another 3, or like that that
That's
you
a great
really like
question.
hang on to?
I had a short summer my first summer, like 7 weeks,
Oh,
because I had signed up. This is why I skipped a summer. So I had signed up to do a year-long band, a ministry band with a Lutheran church. So it was like a traveling where I played keyboards. And
Nice.
so we traveled
Because
the
you were
US
going to
for a
school for
year.
music. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I play piano. I don't even have
Wow.
a keyboard right now, which I kind of miss that. But
Same.
yeah, really. Oh. I'm like, I got to get back to that. All these different things I want to do. They
It's
don't
a
make money. How do you
I
make
know.
money on all this stuff?
I actually went to school for music my first semester,
Oh,
my first year at college actually too. And I didn't know how to play piano, but I taught myself from just learning music theory from like a basic college
yeah.
class, like circle of fifths and stuff. Once you really learn that and you practice it on the piano, you can actually play most things. But my
Yeah.
technique's probably terrible, but I know what you mean, where it's like you just sit on a piano and you just kind of let your emotions out, and
Yeah.
it's really therapeutic. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
sorry to derail that conversation, but I know
Yeah.
what you mean.
Well, and I learned, I mean, I was doing pretty hard classical stuff but in college with piano. So like I did get up there and
Wow.
kind of you know, I didn't learn as much chording. I kind of had to learn that on my own, which is kind of what you do if you play in a band. You have to do chords. So I
Yeah.
was learning that on the road because like Rachmaninoff, they weren't playing it. So what are you gonna do? You have to
Yes.
learn chords.
Yes.
But yeah. But I made enough money in those 7 weeks to like I think took home $1,500 or something like that, which this is back in 1990. So it's like it was a significant chunk of
Yeah.
change for a short summer.
That was a full 4-year education of college, almost. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding. I don't know.
not
Maybe
quite.
actually.
Maybe for a regular college. But I mean, I think maybe it was even more than that. No, it was five. That's wrong. I took home $5,000. That's
Wow.
significantly more in 1990.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
In 1990, that's
It's
a
been a
chunk of change.
minute. I don't.
I mean, that's
Just
like
a little few years ago.
I don't know what inflation's done now, but that's not chump change. That's you worked hard.
No, what would that be? Like 15 grand in
I'll Google it.
7 weeks now? Like, I don't even know. Like, but it was enough money to go, yeah, that's a lot of money, you know?
Let's see, $5,000
I love
started
that
to
you're Googling it.
in 1990 versus worth today, value today. Let's see what this is saying. About $11,605.32 if you wanted to
Okay.
know,
Well, that rocks.
which is
15,000 sounded
not
like
bad.
so much more.
Well, but even
No, that's
like
great. I mean, that's
it's
like
crazy.
for someone who has no idea what they're doing,
Great. So why'd you go back?
just starting out. I'm sure JT came back and said, "Hey, you want to manage?" And I'm like, "Yeah, probably enough." I actually do remember the conversation. He's like, "You want to be a manager?" I'm like, "I'm convinced enough already that you're going to convince me." So yes, I
At
think I
this
remember
point, why
saying that.
argue?
Yeah, I'm like, "Do I want to go back to rural Iowa or do I want to go to a book field somewhere?"
Meet a bunch of cool
Yeah.
people and be surrounded by people who are pushing me to be the
Well,
best version of
yeah.
myself, or go
But
be a
just
lifeguard. Which I'm not knocking on the lifeguarding, but come on.
yeah, I mean, like there probably is a limited amount of interesting summer jobs even today, honestly.
Yeah,
Like
if it was up
there's
to me,
probably
I'd
more
just sell
options
pictures of
today,
my
but
feet on the internet.
well, me too. No, I'm just kidding. You know,
I
for acting, sometimes you gotta show pictures of your feet. I mean, not necessarily feet so much, but
wait, what?
you gotta do your hands all the time, especially for commercial. And feet isn't really a thing, but you have to show your hands.
No way. For real? You have to be like, look how pretty my wait. So
Well,
judge
do you
my
see what
hands.
I'm doing? Like, this is the thing that I've done. Like, I'm not in frame. Hi, I'm Mary Meyer, 5'7", Atlanta, Georgia.
No
Yeah,
way.
yeah, for sure.
Hey, I'm Andre Scamboa, Portland, Oregon. Do you think I'll get a role?
Hired.
Look how beautiful these hands are.
I know they're
Damn.
gorgeous.
That
There you go.
that mocha color. It's that it's a Colombian in me. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
So
kind
you,
of
so, so you came
crazy.
back. You did 4 summers. Why did you decide it was time to go?
My fourth summer, I was married to a sales manager.
Whoa.
Mm,
Whoa.
yeah.
That's a story. Is that a story for Bizzler?
Um, Probably. We're not married anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
You have referred to him as ex-husband, so I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, it's not. I mean, that's not end on a negative note. Yeah, it
Well,
was
no.
it
There's
was
still positive
interesting.
notes. There's
Yeah,
still
yeah, yeah, for
positive
sure.
notes. This is so. I just what
She's
it's
like,
your
oh,
discretion. Your discretion.
she married the boss, not
Yeah.
JT. I was my ex-husband became the district manager, and then I was part of his team during that time frame.
Oh
And we
man.
got married, and then I went to the book field, and then I was having health issues with fatigue, and it was just a rotten summer. I was organizational leader.
Oof, that's
I'm
rough.
like, I know this is awful, but like I would like gonna sell a VL and take a nap.
Oh, that's not awful.
I
No,
was
listen.
like, I'm
Listen.
like, this is like, okay.
Right now, let me just say this real quick.
So
That's
that's a set of books for people who don't know the volume library. I'm like,
oh yeah.
I'm gonna sell a VL. And it's so weird how that did just pop back in my brain like it was yesterday. But you make your $200 and I don't know.
Listen, here's the
There you
deal.
go.
There's nothing wrong with being off schedule. Like, and this is where our podcast starts locking horns with some current sales managers and or book people. Listen, some people need to take a nap during the day. I was my first summer, second summer, great summers. My third and fourth, well, my third, I went to the movies. I
Oh
was hanging
gosh.
out at a bar, like, and here's the deal. This is what's crazy about this experience is you're hearing this and you're going, oh God, like like there's people out there who are listening going, oh my God, that's so bad,
Oh my god. That is like
so
that. That is an oh my god.
bad.
How
But it's
dare
like,
you?
but then
How
it's like
dare you?
the way I think about it is, I went to the movies during a summer internship that I did in college. Like, it's not that big of a fucking deal when people like it's so easy for us as book people, and this is probably where it starts to get cultish, where like you say that and there's still people who sold years ago who would listen
Mhm.
to that and go, oh, like I just punched a priest or a child or a nun. Like
For sure.
I might as well have like
That is that level.
robbed robbed a small business that is like takes care of puppies or something. I might as well have like murdered a puppy before I say that I went to the movies on a Wednesday afternoon in July in
Yeah.
2014. Or what, you know what I mean? It's hilarious how that happens. But hey, if you took a nap, you took a nap, girl. Good job.
Well, I did have like I just had it was and it ended up being Lyme's disease, and I got that at 23,
Oh,
and I didn't even figure out what it was till 37. So it's like I mean, like I was like sleepy for a very long time,
yikes.
and health kind of issues. So like, yeah, it's just life is real. It
It
hits you with
happens.
stuff you're not expecting.
It happens. I
Yeah.
love it. All right, let's go into some rapid fire questions and
Okay.
then we'll do a ponytail and then we can wrap this one up. Man, this has been a blast. Honestly, I could probably do this for like another 7 hours, but I'm not trying to break a record today.
Okay.
But here we go. Okay.
Okay.
Favorite territory that you sold in out of the 4 summers of
Oh
the
my gosh,
4 states.
I sold like north of Kingsport my third summer, and so I literally drove into the mountains every day. And I went
Mm.
into so it
Isn't
was
Pennsylvania?
Tennessee,
Oh no,
Kentucky, and
Tennessee,
I don't know if it was Kentucky. What else is over there? Yeah,
Virginia,
Virginia's.
hmm
I think it was in the Virginias.
and North
It's been a
Carolina. Yeah,
minute.
that
But it
area
was
is
like all that the mountains and the people were nice, and it's like it didn't matter if I had to drive between homes because it was so nice. And I never wrecked a car, which wow, because like I remembered selling books and someone was riding with me going, "Your tires are completely bald and you're on a mountain with no." Yeah, well,
figured
I'll
out.
probably do something about that. Maybe get the oil changed.
um My car's gonna die. Who cares? Next door.
Yeah, man.
Favorite. I'm gonna.
You know what? I still have that attitude. Nah, look at that big problem. I'll deal with it tomorrow.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it
It's
out.
gonna work itself out. Yeah.
Um. Okay. Favorite HQ.
Oh my gosh. Um, my fourth summer was pretty great because, yeah, honestly, they're all good. They're all good. I didn't have a bad one. Like my
Okay.
first summer was an apartment it was a home, but no, there was no landlord. But it was just seemed like really nice. One older woman usually housing us, and it was always very nice.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
Um. Favorite overall summer?
That third summer for sure. I recruited a friend of mine, and we both started hitting PC at the same time.
Look at
Had some
you.
people lead, but like we walk into the meeting and like it's her and me. And I remember that lady because some of my recruits had left and whatever, and she was a little like these people, of course, just being motherly. I mean, it is a lot, right? And so then we had the books delivered, and she's like, "They're never going to deliver all these books." And she was just astounded when we delivered all the books, like a whole garage full of books gone.
Love it.
I
You
mean,
gotta
and
love
it
that.
really was like it was like we stacked up that garage and then we cleaned it out. Yeah. So I mean, that's you gotta love that, you know.
That's the best. Like that's the kind of stuff where you're like, oh, we're kicking ass. Like those are like little
Yeah,
like little green flags instead of red flags. Those green flags, you're kicking
yeah,
ass.
yeah.
That's what you want.
And enjoying life for sure.
Oh man, I miss it, and sometimes I miss it. Sometimes. What was your favorite breakfast spot?
Oh man, the first summer. That's so fun that I can remember this stuff. Is this little place in Kingsport, Tennessee, and it's this little diner, and the people there know you, and like for whatever reason, that's what I remember. That one place, just tiniest little. It was like a little
Sloopy's,
Waffle House, but a little smaller. I don't remember the name of it. I don't remember that, but
Betty's
I kind of
Stockyard Cafe.
yeah, I remember just driving down there. I remember, and I was from the north, so you come to the south and you're like, there's the farmers and their overalls are there. There's farmers in overalls in Iowa. Let's not lie, but like they're different there. They have a southern, that southern vibe.
Where y'all
I don't
from?
know. Yeah, where y'all from? That's right. It's exactly you got it. You want some greets? I don't know what you
Oh,
just said. So I guess
sure.
not.
Put it in my face. Let's taste
Greets?
it.
You want some greets? And no idea what
um,
greets were when I grits, but greets?
yeah,
Want some
that's how
greets?
they call it. You want some
Yeah.
greets? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah.
Um, your best follow day.
Where I followed or they followed me?
Either one. We have this one open to interpretation.
Oh gosh. It was probably when I thought when I followed my, to be husband. I'm like, oh, so wow. Funny
Big
look,
boat boat
I did
goggles.
marry him. I did marry him.
Boat
So
goggles.
at the time, yeah,
Boat goggles. It
I
happens.
was Twitter pated.
It happens. It
Yeah.
happens. And then the
Yeah.
last one is your I don't know best or favorite advanced sales. Did you guys have advanced sales in the 90s, early 90s, or did that become later? It's like when we would listen to cassettes or video or audios of like someone like for an hour talking about how to increase in sales or whatever. Like, did you ever do that in the
No.
90s or dang it? See, I feel like those started becoming a thing more like when CDs popped into automobiles more frequently. So like the early
Yeah.
2000s is when you really had advanced sales.
Yeah. I mean, there was like stuff in books, but it doesn't sound familiar in terms of
Fair
listening
enough.
to anything.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that concludes our rapid fire questions. And now it's time to bring this ship to the shore with a ponytail or two of yours. Now, for people who are listening for the first time, ponytails is where that's the name of the show, is where we have our guests share some of their favorite stories from the book field. Sometimes it's one big one, sometimes it's a couple little ones. It's totally your call, Mary, however you want to do this. Memorable moments, funny things that happen to you, crazy shit, anything like that. We've heard it all. We've heard none of it. It's your experience that matters. Take it away.
I didn't even think of these until now, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I do. I remember them. They're both from my first summer, but like my first summer, I was riding a bike, right? So I borrowed a bike for the summer. I think I paid them something for it. They were great with that. But you have a 80-pound backpack on your back, and this is Tennessee, so I am riding up and down hills. So y'all, I had calluses on my ass. I did. I should maybe not said that.
It's okay.
Like that.
You can totally say it. We've heard worse in here, but that's hilarious. In the weird spots where the bike seat touches you.
Where the bike seats are at. And
Oh,
then at the end,
oh
of the summer,
no.
at the end of the summer, one of these dads were like, and he wasn't hitting on me. He was like, yeah, we got a bike race coming up and you're gonna be in it. Totally serious.
You've
I'm like, I
you've
don't think I have time for it. I don't know if I'm in training for it. Can you imagine being that good a shape where you've been spending the entire summer going up and down massive hills in Tennessee with a pack and thinking you're not in shape for a bike race? So that
shoot.
guy definitely called it. I mean, I didn't do the race, but because I was on schedule. But yeah,
I
isn't
feel
that
like
fun?
hearing the phrase "I had calluses on my ass" is great little sound.
It's a whole
We,
new high.
we might throw that on a trailer. We might throw that on a trailer.
Oh, jeez.
I had calluses on my ass. Okay, there's a story.
Gosh,
Wonderful.
I did that to myself.
Hey, no, but that's great. This is the stuff we love. Callous ass Mary Meyer. This is what we're here for.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Let's not put that in the trailer and just to pretend like we did.
Sure.
No,
Anyway,
no, nobody knows that story, and I just shared it.
hey,
Oh,
listen. We opened up with awkward sexual sounds you had to do in front of a director for film, which that
I
footage is
gave you
somewhere.
like you could like totally ruin my reputation with the information I just gave you.
I don't think so. I think maybe
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
maybe certain directors might be like, "Hey, this lady, she's had some calluses.
She's got calluses.
Let's hire her."
Oh my gosh, that's probably that's maybe not what I want to do in film, but hey.
Comedy roles.
Yeah, comedy roles. And that same summer, another summer, there was that actually I found there was a mom in Kingsport, and I don't remember her name, but I found her my first summer, and I think that's how I got a car for deliveries.
Oh,
And then I
nice.
found her my third summer, and she helped me find a headquarters. It's just like I'm like, I love you so much. Kind of like that family.
Those
Yeah.
are the people that make you believe in the world and
Oh
hope
yeah.
in life and truth, because you're like,
Yeah.
there's people like you, and if you're raising children, they're probably going to be great.
Yeah.
Good for you. Like,
Yeah. And there's
amazing
a few
humans.
people like that are just like, they had you for sure.
Oh,
I mean, you
so
just find
good.
them, but yeah.
What
And
a
it's sad
beautiful
that I can't
experience.
remember names, but
It's
what?
just what a beautiful experience to just bump into someone. You get to just bump into some people like that. It's so cool.
Yeah,
Oh man. I love this.
such good stuff.
Oh man, this has been great. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much. Oh man. Oh, guys, I've been with Mary Meyer. This has been a blast. We need to
That was
definitely, you
good.
know what we need is we need to have you and Cassandra back for one episode together where you guys are
Oh,
just
that'd be
bantering
fun.
back and forth. That'd be kind of fun. Talk
Yeah,
about
for
life,
sure.
good old 90s selling. Hell
Yeah.
yeah. I'm down for
Heck
that. Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Mary, thank you so much for being on the show with me. This has
Thank
been
you,
a
Andres.
blast.
This has been so fun. I appreciate you.
I'd love it.
Yeah.
Guys, we're going to close up this one here. If you guys want to get a hold of Mary, if you have questions for her about her acting career, if you want to just pick her brain about maybe you're looking into going into acting, if you want to buy some really cool furniture, for whatever reason, her Instagram is at Mary Meyer Act. That's MaryMeyer Act. You can also check it out in the linked notes below on the description of the episode, and make sure you reach out to her to say hello or for whatever reason. My name's Andres Gamboa. We're going to wrap this one up. Mary, hope you had a blast. Hope
I
it was fun.
did. That was so fun. Thank you
I'm
so much.
glad to hear it. My name's Andres Gamboa. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. This has been the Ponytails Podcast. Bye-bye, everybody.